As regulatory pressures increased, what was the impact on the large enterprise?
So large enterprises, especially those in the regulated industries, have been on the forefront in terms of having to deal with whether it's e-discovery or other kind of investigative or audit types of responses. And so what we've seen is that large enterprises have actually implemented in many cases diverse point solutions to be able to capture, manage, search or query from things like email environments or ERP systems, databases, or even file shares or content management systems. And this I think has been an important first step for organizations to get a handle on the different information sources that they have. But we see that as organizations start to mature and get a handle on their information management requirements, we are hearing that customers are looking for more holistic approaches to managing their archived and compliance-driven information requirements. So we are seeing that organizations are looking for more holistic approaches, being able to capture information from multiple content authoring tools or content repository tools in one consistent environment, making it much easier to respond to any of the regulatory requirements, audit requests, and of course, the pressure of e-discovery. We do see that many large organizations, grow through merger and acquisition, and trying to get a handle on the diverse different archiving environments or content data repositories can be a challenge. So the next step in terms of going up the maturity curve is typically looking at these more consistent, holistic approaches to information management.
What are the challenges of managing data across silos?
I think there's really three key challenges. The first is, of course, making sure that you're accurately responding to any of the requests from regulators, from legal counsel, if it's e-discovery, or even internal auditors or investigators. With multiple silos holding different forms of data and content and information, there runs a risk of missing something or perhaps releasing something that's out of date or obsolete. So, not having a holistic picture of your holdings runs the risk of releasing information that's not correct. The second key issue here is, I think, more of a resource issue. When we're managing multiple environments, we are investing time, we're investing money, we're investing human capital in activities that may actually be overlapping or redundant. So organizations are looking at rationalizing some of their internal data and information management requirements, are looking at more holistic approaches to being able to get over the silos and look at more holistic ways of managing corporate information. And I think the third is, again, looking at using your information much more holistically. Most organizations use only a fraction of the data and the content they have in their environments. And there's a lot of information that sits untapped in terms of helping contribute to better decision making and launching better products and services to market, better customer care. There's a lot of opportunity here if we can kind of start harvesting from or cut through some of these silos and use information for better business decision making.
What can organizations do to solve the problem of data silos?
So I think one possible approach is for companies to look at new generation technologies that do have the capability of managing much more diverse sets of data and content, potentially even in a single repository. There are technologies in the market now that are actively building out connectors to a very wide range of data and content sources. So the ability to bring information into one centralized location, to unify some of the policies, the lifecycle management, being able to use those different data sources in analytics to help make some of those decisions. We do see that the archiving market is evolving, and these kind of technologies are now quite feasible today.
After governance, how do you see organizations leveraging their data?
So organizations do want to leverage their data in a lot more creative ways. We definitely see at Forrester that compliance and governance of content and email data is still probably the number one driver for adoption of archiving technologies. But organizations that have made that leap into a new generation archiving platform also are seeing the opportunities that are available to them now because they do have information from a broad range of sources available to them for consistent analysis, for comprehensive query, kind of universal access to a broader range of end users. So with information being brought into some of these new generation platforms, we see that customers are looking for ways to better use that information for better decision making. As I mentioned earlier, we see that companies typically are only mining a fraction of the data and even less of the content and the email resources that they have in-house. So this is a real wealth of information available to organizations to help them make better decisions and get insights into where they can improve their business operations. It's a really interesting area of untapped opportunity right now.
How do you see governance and analytics playing out in the enterprise?
I think that analytics actually has the opportunity to really push the maturity of most organizations' information governance strategies. We see that organizations are still grappling with some of the fundamental, foundational components of building out an information governance strategy. But those companies that are embarking on that journey are now ready to start looking at how can they move the needle from a reactive approach to more of a proactive approach. And analytics, I think, has a really interesting opportunity in terms of helping to reveal patterns of behavior that perhaps were not easily understood just by looking at search results. Analytics has the ability to help mine and detect patterns of behavior that can actually be proactively mitigated. Looking for patterns of bad behavior or risky behavior that you can look at resolving before you actually hit the point where there's a lawsuit or some kind of investigative requirement. Some of the research that we've done at Forrester took a look at how companies were mining things like legal hold data. And organizations that were on that kind of top end of the maturity cycle were actually looking at where's the hot spots of bad behavior inside the company so that they could actually go and fix the problem at the root cause. Rather than just optimizing for faster, cheaper e-discovery, let's actually address the issue and resolve some of the issues before they actually hit the lawsuit stage.
How do you see analytics being used in the age of the customer?
At Forrester, we actually see that a lot of organizations are really investing in technologies now that are helping drive things like revenue growth, things like improve customer experience, being able to better serve and attract and retain customers. We've been talking about this theme of the age of the customer. As organizations become much more empowered in their buying decisions and able to find information about the products and services they want to acquire. So I think analytics has an opportunity to help serve that use case. So beyond even the governance use case, organizations that really want to understand, how to get better intelligence around their customer, know your customer not just from a compliance perspective, but anticipate their needs, anticipate what they may be wanting to purchase or acquire next. This, I think, is the promise of analytics as we're able to start mining that customer communication, whether it's email, messaging, contract documents, bringing all of those customer-focused information sources together in one place gives us the opportunity to really know how to best serve and retain and make sure that their needs are met.
How do you see analytics evolving beyond governance?
Another really interesting application area for analytics is around, achieving more employee satisfaction and achieving more operational effectiveness. One potential use of analytics is to start understanding, what are some of the successful behaviors or patterns in terms of, for example, salespeople who engage with their customers in particularly effective ways. For example, is there any correlation between the tone used in an email and the likelihood of a customer renewing their support contract? Is that sentiment analysis capability actually able to reveal the habits and patterns of successful sales or service representatives? So there's some really interesting applications, I think, in that area. Also, this whole area around corporate memory, we know that our organizations are very fluid right now, and organizations need to be able to get a handle on, where's their intellectual property, where are their best practices, where are the emerging best practices that they need to capture and make available to new employees or employees that are taking over new roles. So having information in a centralized location, the ability to mine it for effectiveness, understand the successful patterns of behavior are really an interesting area of applications in terms of that employee effectiveness and operational efficiency.